What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another FPL video on the channel. And in today's one, we are going to be looking at my team selection for game week 14 as the games are coming thick and fast. And to be honest with you, it's actually time to lock in. This is where we can gain an edge on probably the casual players that are ahead of me right now, because as you guys know, I'm ranked at 1 million, so there probably are FPL managers out there that are above me that don't pay as much attention to the game as I do. So this is the chance to gain on the casual players who probably don't even know the deadline is on Tuesday, right? So it's time to lock in. Hopefully we can get a green arrow this week. But of course, as you guys can see on your screen, man, game week 13 was an absolute disaster class, bruv. Simple as that. Erling Haaland, I still haven't forgotten about the crimes you committed. Blanking after I used my triple captain on you against Leeds at home is an absolute crime. I don't even want to talk about it, right? You guys know I posted my reaction video yesterday, so go check that out if you want to see my thoughts and feelings on that. But honestly, listen, I'm not going to speak about it, but yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. So yeah, game week 13, listen, we got a very small green arrow from 1.1 million to 1 million. It's nothing really to write home about. It's nothing to get too excited about. I'm not going to start shaking my bum because realistically, who really cares, right? 1 million is still an awful rank. We still have levels to go. We still have levels to hit. If we want to get that top 50k finish, we have to keep improving, right? And as I said, this is a chance now to gain on the casual players that probably are ahead of me and don't know that there's a deadline tomorrow. So with that being said, I don't want to spend too much time waffling on about game week 13 because as I said, I already posted a video on it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and have a look at my team selection for game week 14. All right, guys, so let's have a look at my team selection for game week 14, and we'll start things off with the back line. In goal, we do have David Raya, and then we have a back three of Virgil van Dijk, Daniel Munoz, and Rodon. On the bench, we also have Anderson and Senesi, who was actually suspended for game week 14. So with that being said, right, I do want to start off talking about possible transfer plans that I can do, and there is one route I've got which does involve taking out Senesi. There's another route I've got that actually involves just keeping Senesi and benching him because I actually do have another injury issue in my team, and we'll speak about that player when we speak about the midfield and forwards. But yeah, first things first, actually, before I do just talk about possible transfers, I want to say on paper, apart from Rodon, my defence looks good. Raya against Brentford at home, I like. I know Arsenal haven't got a clean sheet in the last 3 Premier League games, but still, they are the best defence in the league, and I think Brentford at home is a great fixture. Then we've got Van Dijk against Sunderland at home, I like, and then Munoz against Burnley away, I like. So I think, yeah, those 3 on paper really should do well because the fixtures are there for them. Of course, Rodon against Chelsea at home is not really ideal. At this point, if Rodon is going to start in my team, I'd just be hoping for defensive contribution and maybe an attacking return from a set piece. But yeah, it's unfortunate because Senesi was meant to play. That was always the plan, but he picked up a 5th yellow card and is now suspended. So I've got 1 free transfer, unfortunately, right? So I'm not really flexible with what I can do. And that is pretty much why there is a possibility that Rodon does actually start for me this week, unfortunately, because I've only got 1 free transfer. Now, one route I've got for my team is obviously to take out Senesi as he is suspended. My options are really pretty slim. Like, I was thinking Saliba at first, but then we obviously saw that Saliba wasn't in the squad against Chelsea because he picked up a knock in training. So can I trust Saliba to start against Brentford? I don't know. It's too much of a risk to go there, right? So I don't think I'm going to put in Saliba. I could put in Timber because I've actually got 2.6 million in the bank, so I could put in Timber, but then again, is Timber going to start against Brentford? I don't know. The thing is, again, players that are guaranteed to start is so important in this period, right? And I just don't know if I can trust Timber to start. You could say, well, because Saliba's injured, because Gabriel's injured, that probably does increase the chance of Timber starting because maybe Arteta doesn't want to make too many changes to the Arsenal team, which is a fair point to make, but it still is just a very big risk. And I could see a world where Timber is benched this week, and therefore, as much as I love him as a pick, I just don't think I can go there. It just feels too risky. So yeah, I feel like there's no Arsenal defender. If I can't go for Saliba, if I think Timber's a risk, then yeah, I'm not going to pick like Calafiori or Hincapié or anyone like that or Mosquera. So I can't really go for an Arsenal defender. I could obviously put another Liverpool defender in, but I'm not going to do that. Even though they've got a good fixture against Sunderland at home, I just think long term, I don't want double Liverpool defence. So if it's not an Arsenal defender, really, I feel like my only other option is to get a Newcastle defender in, because I actually think Newcastle defence looks really, really good. And when you look at the next 2 games they've got specifically, you know, Spurs at home in Gameweek 14, we've seen how bad the Spurs attack is. Like going forward, they stink. They reek so bad under Thomas Frank. And then after that, it's Burnley at home. So I look at the next 2 home games for Newcastle, Tottenham at home, Burnley at home. They look like good clean sheet games. And I think Newcastle defence is obviously solid, especially when they are at home. So I think a Newcastle defender, whether it's Thiaw, whether it's Lewis Hall or Livramento, I think they all look good. And I think they are all solid options. So yeah, that is definitely one possibility. I could sell Senesi and I could go to someone like a Lewis Hall. As I said, I've got so much money left in the bank from taking out Saka. So I could go to any Newcastle defender. So that is one possibility, right? And it's probably what I would do if I had multiple transfers to use, but because I've only got 1 transfer and possible other fires to put out, it might mean that I actually end up starting Rodon and taking out another player in my team instead. But I do like the Newcastle defense, honestly. And to be fair, long term, not even just for the 2 games coming up for Newcastle, I think long term their fixtures do look pretty good. I mean, as you guys can see, as I said, Tottenham, Burnley at home is nice. Sunderland away, that's a derby. That could be a tricky game, and I wouldn't be surprised, to be fair, Sunderland do score, especially because Sunderland are playing at home, and we know how good Sunderland at home are. So yeah, Newcastle probably don't get a clean sheet here, but then it's Chelsea at home, United away. You could argue that these 2 games are relatively tough, but then after that, it's Burnley again, which is nice. Palace at home, without Sarr. Probably a lot of fatigue as well, because they've not got the squad depth to cope with the massive amount of fixtures they've got in such a short period of time. Then you've got Leeds at home, Wolves away, Villa at home. So I think long term, the fixtures are there for Newcastle. And that's why I think players like Thiaw, Hall, Livramento are all solid picks. And if you're watching this video and you are wondering, you know, who should I get instead of Senesi? I would definitely say get a Newcastle defender, man. Because for me, it just makes the most sense, especially with, you know, Saliba being a doubt and Timber possibly being a slight rotation risk. So yeah, I would say Newcastle defense looks good, and that would definitely be my number 1 sort of replacement for Senesi. I also just want to say, right, some of you guys might be wondering, why am I starting, as it stands, why am I starting Rodon over Anderson? Honestly, I just have I think both concede, right? I think Anderson will concede, I think Rodon will concede. So, and I think both will get DEFCON as well. I think Anderson definitely gets DEFCON against City, and I think Rodon will definitely get DEFCON against Chelsea as well. So for me, it's just a question of who do I think will concede less goals, who's more likely to concede less than 2 goals, because obviously if you concede 2 goals, that means you get a -1 points as a defender, right? So I have a feeling that Leeds are probably more likely to stop Chelsea scoring 2 or more goals, and that's why I've gone with Rodon, because if he does get DEFCON, he could end on 4 points, whereas I do think Man City scored 2 or more goals, if I'm being totally honest with you. So Anderson probably ends on 3 points or 2 points. And also another thing that I want to point out is the set piece threat, right? We know Rodon is a real big set piece threat for club and country. He's already scored a goal in the Premier League so far this season for me, if you guys remember, against West Ham. So yeah, I would sort of back Rodon to possibly score from a set piece more than Anderson as well. I feel like his aerial threat is really good. So they're the reasons why I'm starting Rodon over Anderson. Hopefully it does pay off. But listen, with that being said, right, I do want to also move on to my midfields and forwards, right? So in midfield, we do have Ismaila Sarr currently, Phil Foden, Enzo Fernandez, Brian Mbeumo, and Anton Semenyo, right? And in the forward spots, we do have little boy Jean-Philippe Mateta and the big man, the robot, the machine, Erling Haaland, right? So that is what my team is currently looking like. That's what my midfield and forwards are currently looking like. Now, as you guys know, I want to start off by talking about Sarr, because as you know, he came off injured in the Manchester United game, and Glasner actually did say in the conference after the game, in the interview after the game, that his ankle was very swollen, and there is a good chance he won't be available for the Burnley game, and maybe there's a chance he actually won't be available again until he goes out to AFCON. So with that being said, I am sort of paraphrasing here. I'm not saying word for word that's what he said, but along the lines of that, right, is what he said. So with that being said, I think that does make Sarr a sell, right? And that's why I'm not sure if I want to do the Senesi to a Newcastle defender move, because I feel like I also need to sell Sarr, and I've only got 1 free transfer. So it is a question of, do I sell Sarr or do I sell Senesi? One of them has to get sold, and I'm leaning towards more starting Rodon and selling Sarr. So yeah, let's talk about some Sarr replacements. It really is a shame because Burnley away is such a good fixture. But yeah, with one free transfer, if I was to take out Sarr, I'm just thinking getting Bruno Fernandes right now. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Bruno Fernandes is just the one I want. I've got the money to go straight from Sarr to Bruno. Obviously, I sold Saka to Foden, and that gave me a lot of money spare. So yeah, right now I'm just thinking, you know what? Bring in Bruno Fernandes. I could take a hit, by the way. I could actually bring in a Newcastle defender and Bruno Fernandes for a -4, but I just don't like taking hits. I'm going to be honest. Every time I take a hit, it just never seems to work. This season, every time I've taken a hit, it's backfired massively. And to be fair, when your hit includes a defender, it's just not great, really. Like, taking a hit for a defender just never really feels great, does it? So yeah, for me, like, even if Newcastle got a clean sheet and Rodon got a 2-pointer, let's say, and Hall or Livramento or Thiago got 6 points, 6 -4 is 2. It doesn't really, like, I feel like it's very hard to gain extra points when you take a hit for a defender. So yeah, I'm just going to use one free transfer, and as I said, right now I'm thinking go Bruno Fernandes. There's of course some other options I could go for, but I want to start off by talking about Bruno Fernandes because for me, I just feel like he is the standout pick. Guaranteed starter, 90-minute man, on all set pieces, takes penalties, multiple routes to points, and as I said, we're going into a period of massive fixture congestion where there will be rotation for a lot of players, and I just feel like Bruno Fernandes isn't going to be part of that group of players that are going to be sort of susceptible to being rotated. So yeah, for me, Bruno Fernandes looks like a good pick. The entry point is nice. West Ham at home is brilliant. Wolves away is nice. Bournemouth at home is nice. Villa away and Newcastle at home, you could argue, are pretty tough, to be fair, but I think Newcastle defence away from home is not amazing. I think they're there to be got at, and then even after that, it's Wolves at home, Leeds away, Burnley away. For me, if I go for Bruno, right, I'm looking at Bruno Fernandes as a serious long-term hold. Genuinely, even after the Burnley game, it's City at home, which I don't mind. Arsenal away is tough, but then after that, it's Fulham at home, Spurs at home, West Ham away. So as I said, I think for me, just bring in Bruno Fernandes because he is a serious long-term hold, and I just feel like he's having quite a good FPL season, man. He's taken along really nicely. He gets the assist. Sometimes he gets. I mean, he's not really got many goals this season, only 2 goals, but he's got 5 assists. And the thing is, you might say, yeah, Bruno gets lucky at times, like today. Against Crystal Palace, you know, he got 2 lucky assists, you could say, 2 assists from set pieces, but that's just Bruno. You know, when you're taking every set pieces, when you're taking the corners, the long free kicks, the penalties, when you've got multiple routes to points, you're always going to put yourself in the best possible position to get lucky. And I just feel like Bruno, even the DEFCON, by the way, I didn't even mention sort of defensive contributions, right? He's really good for defensive contributions as well. So I just think Bruno, for me, looks like the one for me. When you factor in everything. So I think Sarr to Bruno Fernandes is what I'm going to do, and I'm sort of leaning towards that a lot. Of course, you've got other players like Yacoba Minte who look good, and I think he'll be good for minutes. He's done really well so far this season as well. The fixtures for Brighton are pretty decent. You know, Villa at home, West Ham at home, Liverpool away. I don't actually think that's bad, especially for a player like Minte. Sunderland at home, Arsenal away is tough, but then West Ham and Burnley. So again, some good long-term fixtures there for someone like Yacoba Minte. I think he's a good pick, but if I'm honest, I prefer Bruno Fernandes, man. So yeah, right now I'm thinking take out Sarr, bring in Bruno Fernandes. It does look like the move I'll be making this week. So yeah, man, we've also got Enzo Fernandez. Now, with Caicedo being sent off against Arsenal, like originally, I had my doubts about Enzo this week starting. I had a feeling maybe he gets rotated. But now with Caicedo being sent off and missing this game against Leeds, I feel like that does increase Enzo's chances of starting. I really doubt that Chelsea go into this Leeds game without Enzo or Caicedo in midfield. So yeah, I think Enzo is good for a start, which is nice. I think Leeds away is a good fixture. Unfortunately, I do have, again, my attacker playing against my defender, Enzo against Rodon. Again, you guys know how much I dislike that. I really do. I hate it. I had it last game week in Game Week 13 with Mbeumo playing against Munoz and Enzo playing against Raya. I hate when my attackers play against my defenders, but again, I've been put in a situation where ultimately, even if I start Anderson, I've got my attackers playing against my defender. So it is what it is. We're just going to have to deal with it. But yeah, I think Enzo right now, I like Enzo. And I do want to quickly touch on Enzo in terms of my long-term plans. Now, I do think he's good for starts. Mainly, I do think he's good for starts. So I don't think I'm going to sell him because I do actually like what I'm seeing on the eye with Enzo Fernandez. And I just hope that with Cole Palmer coming back into the team, his role stays the same, and I think it will stay the same. I still think he'll get forward. I think he'll still be high up the pitch and still play that box crashing role. If I notice a change in sort of Enzo's positioning, then I'll definitely look to get rid of him, probably around the time when we get 5 free transfers. We get 5 free transfers in game week 16, so I'd probably say if Palmer comes into the side and I notice a change in Enzo's role, I'd say, yeah, after this Everton game week 16, I'd probably sell him. But for now, I do like Enzo because what I'm seeing on the eye is very, very promising. I do like him as a pick. So, yeah, hopefully he does deliver. Now, we also do have Erling Haaland as captain, and I do quickly want to touch on that, guys, because there are a few options I actually could do for captaincy. I feel like I could do Haaland. I feel like I could even do Foden. I feel like I could do Mateta or even Brian and Mbeumo. Now, I'm going to be honest, it would have been very, very nice to be able to feel a little bit confident with Mateta or Mbeumo as a differential captain, and I would have gone there if I really had that confidence, because you guys know when I'm prepared to take a risk, I usually do it. Now, in recent weeks, after watching United, after watching Mbeumo, after watching Mateta, I just don't feel like it's logical to have them as captain, because number one, yes, you could argue, little boy, Jean-Philippe Mateta, right, does get the service, does get the chances, but ultimately, he is not clinical, right? He is not clinical. He can't be trusted. I know he probably gets a good amount of service against Burnley, but can I trust him to put the ball in the back of the net? Absolutely not. Game in, game out, I'm watching Crystal Palace play and I'm seeing Mateta miss easy chances. I don't want to go there as captain personally, right? And if he was a little bit more in form, if he was looking a bit more deadly and clinical in front of goal, I probably would have taken a gamble on maybe a Mateta. But I just think, nah, I can't do it, man. I honestly can't do it. And the same thing goes for Mbeumo a little bit. With Mbeumo, I just think the performances that he's displayed in the last couple of games for United hasn't really been great. And I just think United as well as a team haven't been looking amazing. And, you know, you might say, well, if you think United as a team haven't been looking amazing, why go for Bruno Fernandes? But again, when you're talking about picking players in this sort of fixture congestion period, you want players you know are going to start, that have got multiple routes to points, that are on penalties, and Bruno fits that category, right? So that's why I've gone for Bruno. But in terms of captain material, that's a different ball game, right? That's a different ball game. And I think Brian and Mbeumo right now, the fixture is nice. Like West Ham at home, it really is a nice fixture, but I just don't think he's captain material right now. I don't want to captain a player from Man United. So again, it just falls back to going on Erling Haaland, really. And I think City in recent years have actually had a good record against Fulham. So yeah, Erling Haaland right now, as it stands, is going to be my captain. I'm 99% sure it's going to be that way. So yeah, that's currently how my team is looking, guys. Let me know what you guys do think of my Game Week 14 team, and comment down below if you've got what your plans are for Game Week 14. Are you playing any chips? Are you playing triple captain? Are you playing free hit, bench boost? Let me know what your thoughts and feelings are on Game Week 14 and what your team is looking like as well, man. But yeah, it should be a crazy one this week, man. Hopefully we get a big green arrow. I certainly need it, man. I really want to get out the millions. I'm so close to being free, right, from the millions. So hopefully this is the week where we get a big green arrow. But yeah, that's going to be it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, man. Much love. Subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. And yeah, it's been your boy FPL Ryan, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, I'm out. Peace.